Welcome back to Full Drawn Football. I'm joined by Jack Devonport today. We're going to go just through the City and Arsenal game that's coming up tomorrow and just talk lineups and stuff. How are you getting on, Jack? You all right?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thanks for having me back. Obviously, previewed the Spurs game and that went well, so hopefully similar omens.
Yeah, mate. We were pretty much like bang on with our predictions of everything, how that game went, the lineups, everything. So, maybe we should predict a win for Arsenal and that will happen as well.
I think we both said a draw last week, but we'll keep quiet on that one. This is a fresh video.
No. Well, hang on a minute. I think I said that my head was saying a draw, my heart was saying a win. So,
okay, it depends what you follow, but
it's kind of like
I think I said a draw
on the fence.
I don't know whether it's delusion, just getting closest to the game, or excitement, but I'm edging more towards a win. Sort of the longer the week goes on, but
yeah. How did you feel after the Atlanta game? Because it was an interesting match, to say the least. But...
yeah, I mean, it was a typical sort of away game in Italy, wasn't it? They were defensively strong. We were very much, if we can't score, at least don't concede. And I think getting out of there with a point, considering the fact that it's sandwiched between Spurs away and City away, isn't the worst result in the world. I'm all right with it. I think just how I describe it, just content. Just turn the TV off. I was like, nice.
Yeah, it wasn't. I said a minute ago, I said it was an interesting game. To be fair, it was boring. It was like I don't.
That wire save.
Yeah. Oh, mate, it was so good, so good. It was great seeing all the reactions as well across Twitter. The amount of like rival fans saying, "Oh, here we go, penalty." Arsenal going to lose this match. Blah blah blah. And Raya pulls off just that was the world. That was literally a worldie. Did you think actually?
My best mate from uni is he works for David Raya's glove sponsor. They're one of the smaller brands. So he's been having the time of his life. Sort of this past month, their stocks I'm sure must be going through the roof. Had sort of the Wolves save, the Villa save, clean sheet in the derby, and then the pen save. So.
Is it a bad omen that he's been probably our best player this season so far?
Yeah, it's sort of a double-edged sword, isn't it? If your goalkeeper's your best player, I remember David De Gea, I think, was United's Player of the Year sort of 2-3 years in a row, and I was like, well, what does that actually say about you that your goalkeeper's been your busiest and most impressive player? But look, again, if you can't win the game, don't lose it. And when you've got him between, how different would that Villa game look as well if Watkins scores that? It could be a completely different season we're looking at.
Yeah, and we know we've seen it in the past. When was it? It must have been about 3-4 seasons ago when we lost against Brentford on the opening game of the season, and then we went on that terrible run, and instantly the fans turned, and atmosphere. The atmosphere just makes such a huge difference to the confidence of the team and how you can go and play. I think this season we should have kind of looked at it. I think sometimes we look rose-tinted glasses and think to ourselves, oh, we're going to go out, we're going to win every game, we're going to play this amazing, expansive football. But you look at the fixtures we've had, and North London derby away, Man City away, Atalanta away. These games aren't games you can turn up and just go, oh, we're going to just play the way we want for the whole game, not, and then without your midfield. We didn't know that at the time, but hopefully over
Fury was out as well. So just numbers as well. But to get through all three of them with no fresh concerns and hopefully a couple of wins and a draw is sort of I think that speaks more about where we're at as a team than sort of if we went and smashed them all. If you get what I mean, the fact that we can sort of be resilient when the chips are down and just get through these tough games, then that speaks a lot about where we are. Yeah. A couple of years ago, we roll over and we lose them all. So
it's so true, isn't it? And you look at our record like last year against the top six, it's unbelievable. I just feel like sometimes Arsenal are the only team that get the backlash for being more conservative at certain points in games or during a whole game. City turned up at our ground. They didn't play the kind of game that they have in the past when they used to beat us by 2 or 3 goals. And I didn't see anyone turning around and say City did the wrong thing. You know, they say, oh, experienced Premier League winners, they did the right thing. That's how you've got to, you know, go to an away ground. We go up to the Etihad and suddenly it's Stoke ball and it's, you know, it's parking a bus and all of this. It's, yeah, but that's, I guess, football genders, rival genders. It's always going to happen, but
I mean, if you beat them at home and draw away, you're taking points off your challenges over the course of the season. That's what you need to do. And I mean, we talk about sort of moving the goalposts when it comes to Arsenal. And we mentioned it on the podcast the other week that Klopp got one league win at the Etihad, and that was in 2015 before there were title challenges. And Pep Guardiola's won one league game at Anfield. So you don't have to go there. You just have to beat them at home. And then when you go to that away game, just stop them beating you, and then you've got a net victory over them. So that's what it should be about. But yeah, it seems to be that we have to go there all guns blazing and try and score 4 or 5 and get hit on the counter, or we're not a proper team at the minute. So
yeah, and I think I mentioned it before about the 3 seasons that Pep's, you know, not won the league, and and when you start kind of diving into it, I had a little think about it. So, well, really, when Klopp won the league against Pep, it was the COVID year, so completely different circumstances, different, you know. Well, no atmosphere, different atmosphere. Depends how you look at it.
They lost 4-0 at Anfield, 4-0 at the Etihad as well.
Yeah,
season. It was obviously after they'd won the league and they're all sort of hung over, but it just shows that you don't need to go there and win because they'd won it before they even got there.
Yeah, so, it would have been Jose's Madrid, wouldn't it? That beat him at Barca, and then Conte's Chelsea, and that was Pep's first season, I think. So even then, it's, you know, it's such a tough ask to win this league with Pep in the league and the kind of resources he's got at his disposal. So we're all hoping we can win, but it's easier said than done. It's not Football Manager where you just, you know, put the tactics in, just sit there, hang back, watch it unfold, make a couple of subs. I'll be right. Slightly different, but right. Well, having said that, let's have a little look at what we did last year. And then we'll have a chat about where we did well, where we went wrong, if you think that, and then kind of discuss what we think going on this year. So let's have a look, Jack. So, can you see that? I'm hoping you can see that.
I can, yeah.
Amazing. So, obviously, last year, we had Kivior left back. Bit of a change. He was on. He was actually playing quite well at that point. He wasn't doing too bad. Jorginho kind of playing in the pivot. We had Odegaard, and then Jesus playing out on the left, which is something I guess we'll have a little chat about in a little minute. But I was looking at the City side. I forgot that Ortega was in goal for that game.
Yeah, that was when you sort of had that weird period of Edison was out and then no one was really sure who was number one. Like Ortega was really pushing, and did he get injured against Newcastle? Maybe Edison. I just remember there was a period where Ortega came in. Yeah, but I mean the team is so different to probably what you'd want going into this game. So coming out with a 0-0 is we'll break down how it happened, but impressive.
Yeah, I mean for me, this man right here, Gavardio. He was the one outlet in that game, and he kept on coming out so far wide, receiving the ball, and he was the biggest outlet for Man City. He was the, I wouldn't say the danger man, but it was quite evident that they worked out with the press. That was the only kind of escape route. Now, whether or not Man City kind of had preempted that, I'm not too sure, but there was a lot of crossfield balls across here to him as well, which is a really different kind of different tactics to what we've seen in the past. He's obviously going to be there this year. He's going to be another guy. Do you think we're, you know, in terms of the team, what do you think we did well? What do you think we kind of lacked in that match?
I think we were just really, really good at being compact. I think we knew that Haaland's got the legs and the physicality, but between Saliba and Gabriel, he can sort of be marshalled. So if you can shepherd them out wide, it's a case of, you know, that the crosses have to be almost perfect. Because if you look where you've got De Bruyne now, those central areas, that's where that's where he can hurt you. So if you're shepherding them out wide, and if you're making them give it to a Gavardio or obviously a Kanji in this case, then sort of the more compact we are, the more difficult it is for them to get him the service he can score from. Because look, we all know you give Haaland 5 yards of green grass, and it can be game over.
Yeah, I think he's actually got the highest top speed of all players in the Premier League so far this season.
Yeah,
which I thought, you know, it seems like he adds something to his game every season. He didn't ever strike me as an overly fast player, but he's, you know, he is obviously very fast because he's beating records from players like Doku, Martinelli. You know, it's just crazy. They seem to as well. One thing I noticed kind of on a watch back, Kovacic kept dropping. And we ended up with a lot of their average positions with De Bruyne and Silva coming inside. And like you say, we kind of nullified them by just keeping so compact. But I do wonder, let's have a little look at where we're kind of going. I'm hoping, Jack, you can join in on this as well. Oh, here we go. Are we there? Are you there? Oh, no connected users. What's going on, Jack?
Hold the phone.
Oh, have you disconnected it?
Are we this one?
Hey, there he is. You're in. So I kind of did a little setup, you know, what most people, I guess, would presume both teams will set up like. Mm-hmm. For us, again, these three here, White, Saliba, Gabriel, I think they're going to have to kind of perform in a almost back three with Timber coming forward. Is that what you're expecting, or do you think we're going to see Calum Fury come in, or go for it, mate? Like, let's set up the team how you think we need to set up for this game.
Yeah, so this is the big sort of the question mark for me, because Timber was so good in the North London derby that he sort of made himself undroppable. But the small cameo that I did see from Calum Fury when he came in against Atalanta was sort of everything we needed. He's got a little bit more height, a little bit more strength, and I don't know if you can see, if I just did a little sub, there were so many times against Atalanta where a loose ball would appear and he's just got that running power to just take it. He was going almost from sort of left back position, taking the ball, and it ended up almost here, where he can lay off the ball, which is sort of just the running power. And I think when the two teams are so strong, it almost cancels itself out and becomes primitive. And if you can have players like Calum Fury and you can have Declan Rice, you have the running power that, you know, when a loose ball breaks, they don't have to try and play passes in transition. They can just drive. That could very well be the difference. That, yeah, like I say, it's going to be very difficult to play through Man City. But if you've got Rice and Calum Fury in this area, when they do get it, it's just they power through. Martinelli's running, then maybe that's sort of more how you do it. So I think there is a conversation to be had at the left back, but Timber has almost made himself undroppable with that derby game. I think it'd be very difficult to see him out the team.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. It's such a it's a nice conundrum. It's a shame Calum Fury's been out injured. I think if he was fully fit, for me at the moment, our biggest concern is Partey. I think he has not looked himself all season, and he didn't put out another good display against Atalanta. He's the one player I look at, and I just think, is he going to be almost targeted? We had Jorginho and Partey together, obviously, against Spurs, and they did a good job of kind of nullifying and preventing, you know, any running, really. I wonder if Jorginho will be in for this game, and whether Partey will be dropped, because I think James was saying, actually, little plug for Gooniverse. So James was mentioning, if you lose what Partey's actually good at, and you then break down what we're asking him to do, Jorginho does everything better. So it's that kind of worry of, do we actually take him out and bring Jorginho in? Oh, I've got Lewis Skelly there. Hey.
That's a debut.
I tell you what, I wouldn't actually mind too much about that. But does he come in? Does Rice then drop in as a double pivot? Don't know. There's so many questions. For me, I'm really kind of starting to angle towards neither of them playing, bringing Calum Fury in like you were talking about, and having Timber start to arrive in our midfield. And I just feel like having Timber there, he's so good in tight spaces. And again, it's another player we saw against Spurs. At the time, we had Trossard in areas like this receiving. He was then dropping back. Martinelli was coming inside. A few times we had Timber on the overlap. And it caused Spurs all sorts of problems on the counter. It was a really interesting type of play. And I just wonder if we could get... I move everyone back now. If we could get Timber in a little double pivot there with Rice. But is this the game to do that? An experiment? I don't know. That's a big question.
It's interesting with you saying that, because what you were saying about James's point with sort of everything we ask Partey to do, Jorginho's better. But then if you were to highlight everything that you think Thomas Partey's good at, it's being sort of press resistant, getting the ball into his feet and turning his man. He's quite good at breaking the press. And I would almost argue that the way that Partey's playing, the way it looks like he's losing his legs, that maybe Timber's actually better than that now. So then you're looking at it, well, if Jorginho's better at dictating play, he's better at passing the ball, he's sort of a calming presence, and Timber's press resistant, he's quick, he can link up, he can pass, he can drive. Where does Partey sit in this? And then do you hit a point where it's just a sort of vote of no confidence and you're looking at other options, which is harsh to say, because he's been sort of one of our better players, especially in the first year we challenged for the league. I know he missed a lot of it of injury, but he was sort of, we were putting him in the Rodri Casemiro conversation for sort of 6 months. So to where he is now, that we're talking about putting a fullback in over him is
It's crazy, isn't it? It is mad. I think that does speak volumes for Timber, because because Timber has shown he's very adept in this kind of position. He's shown it multiple times now against City, against Spurs. Pre-season playing in that role, right centre back, I thought he was unbelievable. He was so good. And the only kind of place we haven't seen him, and it wouldn't surprise me to see this back four, with Timber at right back and Calum Fury playing left back, simply because White, I love Ben White. I absolutely adore the guy. He's just got that shithousery, and he really has improved. That his ability to kind of make the jump and read the game is unreal. However, in the big matches, he still hasn't had like a standout performance. And I do wonder if we play Timber out there and Calafiori on this side, and we have kind of that running power on both sides. I know part of the reason White has been in here and consistent is because Arteta likes to keep that system with Sacka, White, and Odegaard. But losing Odegaard, does that mean that we can play Timber out there and we can change it? And does that then cause problems for City? Because a big part of our play recently has been kind of disrupting other people's tactics. The ball to have it's the long ball, playing rather than playing through the press and playing over the press, caused Spurs to kind of end up with these bizarre formations. And we ended up with, let me get Jorginho almost playing on second balls at some points. And that was causing the mayhem. So I wonder if, we do try to just disrupt City by making a change, but it's so difficult. It's so difficult. It shows how integral Odegaard is to our system now.
Yeah, there's so many different options. I think the thing for me that I've been looking at is Haaland, as we saw last year, you were saying with Gvardiol, so much comes through him. And obviously, we're not sure if De Bruyne's going to play. It's not, I think there's a lot of mind games going on. But I feel like what's going to happen a lot is we're going to end up sort of tucked in. Saka's going to be back sort of stopping whatever sort of cross this may be. And then we'll have the same on the other side. And I almost feel like what's going to happen quite a lot is just having the height in there. Because usually what we'll see Haaland do is if he's not getting the better of Saliba or Gabriel, he then peels off here and he tries to get that sort of back post finish.
Yeah.
Or he peels off this side. But if you've got sort of what we're saying, 6'2" Ben White there, you can't really peel onto him. He's not like a Pedro Porro or someone that you can maybe dunk on. You can't really peel off this side because Calum Fury also, 6'1", 6'2", and it just becomes that problem of if we're so strong being compact with this. Yes, they've got really creative players that can beat their man and get crosses into the box, but I mean, if you've got that back four plus Rice in the box, it makes it incredibly difficult for them to be creative and get something, because we've seen so many times this season when the chips are down for City, it's the ball in the box stood up to the back post and we see Haaland on the end of it. But if you've got the tall fullbacks and the centre backs, they've got the better of himself and before, it does pose a lot of problems for them.
Yeah, massively. My big concern with this game, I haven't put him in yet, but there is one player who's returned to the club. I'm just going to put Gun here, and I worry about Gundogan coming as a fourth man runner.
Yeah,
we've seen it so many times. I think De Bruyne scored it their last kind of goal against us on that cutback, because as you're saying, like crosses into the box, we forget how good Raya is at claiming crosses as well. So not only have we got this
in the box right now as well.
Yeah. So I just think on that side of things, I'm confident, which is mad to say against a team like City. I'm very confident in kind of us staying compact, staying to the game plan, our players actually staying switched on for 90 minutes, because that's been a big problem over the years. I know we talked about Ramsdale previously and, that being a problem in his game. My one worry is this guy at some point coming through and making that fourth man run, and that's the one way I can see City kind of getting at us, because we're not going to play expansive football in this game. We're not going to play it.
And we have seen it a few times where Haaland, he almost sacrifices himself. Obviously, he's too good to be sort of called a decoy player, but we have seen so many times where he peels off to the back post, maybe drags a Saliba and a White away, and then Gundogan comes in, and it wouldn't surprise me if you see that sort of almost 4D chess from Guardiola. Well, you've stopped Haaland, but you've taken two of your centre backs out of the game, and we've got Gundogan in the box now. So yeah, it worries me as well if he starts.
So let's pull these back a minute into position. I want you just to go through what your starting lineup's going to be, Jack, for this. So, I mean, it's an absolute mess here. I don't know what we've done here. That'll do, something like that.
There we are.
Go for it, mate. What are you hoping for?
So mine will be pretty much as screen, bar I would do that, make it the double pivot. I think again, having the height and the drive and power in the back four is going to be crucial. I think Rice and Partey in the double pivot, Rice can maybe protect Partey's legs a little bit. I was contemplating doing the Havertz and then Jesus in here, but just watching how the North London derby ran, I think Havertz was so key to our ability to go long. We saw Raya taking long goal kicks, clearances, sort of. There was even one where the goal kick dropped short and Havertz came sort of all the way back here. He sprinted to try and win the header. So it's clear that the instructions are anything in the air, anything long, like Havertz, you're the guy. You have to chase everything. You're the long ball outlet. So I think you've got to stick with him. And then Martinelli's a difficult one. I made a little video about it yesterday of the left wing problem looks no closer to getting solved, because Martinelli's probably, his pace in transition probably makes him our most dangerous player, but he's arguably in his worst form of his Arsenal career so far.
Yep.
Trossard is probably the best finisher at the club, but looks so much better off the bench and when he starts, and we've currently got him in that midfield spot. And then Sterling, we know, is a proven quantity under Arteta at Man City, but hasn't really nailed down a place in the team. He's probably still in a bit of a confidence rut from Chelsea. So it's up for grabs, but I just think Martinelli's sort of willingness to work back is going to be key in this game. That's why I'd put him in there over a Sterling or putting Trossard out wide. I don't know about you. What you sort of think on that left wing?
It's so difficult. Like you say, I think Martinelli's pace is the biggest threat we have in this. I put out a little tweet after the Atalanta game, basically saying, right now, and maybe it's the pessimist in me, the most I can hope for is a 0-0. And I said, I hope a Martinelli breakaway, a Sacka moment of magic, or just one of our set pieces proves me wrong. But you look at the most recent games, our 2 most recent games, Sacka has not set the world alight. And I understand he's got change in the bank, let's say that. But Martinelli's been the one player that has actually got the chances. I'm just happy that at least he's picking up the positions and he's making those runs more direct this year that we haven't seen for a long time, because there was a period where he wasn't even getting the chances.
No.
So I'm quite happy with him playing, and I think defensively he works incredibly hard. He picks up positions sometimes when we had Timber kind of coming through. Martinelli was in fact coming all the way back at certain points. So I just think he's almost undroppable simply because of his work rate and his ability to break away. And in this kind of game, let's be honest, I don't see Trossard being the one that makes that breakaway, which is ironic because what's the moment we all remember from last year's game?
Yeah, it was Trossard not squaring it to Martinelli. But I think one thing that you highlight there is in the North London derby, I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, it was Trossard that did play that really nice ball through to Martinelli, who then so he hit that sort of weak side-footed effort. So, I mean, there's obviously some sort of pattern of play there where Sacka, so we'll say White and whoever else is on that side is sort of a slower build-up, is a lot more intricate, whereas the sort of the finishes are all on the left. That's where the transition happens. So hopefully we can get the same sort of thing again. We speak about running power with Calum Fury, Rice. Is there a moment where, I don't know, Savio gets caught up the pitch and then we've got Calum Fury runs past him, Martinelli's sort of one-on-one with Rico Lewis? But I think that's where the danger lies. If sort of the move may start on our right-hand side, but I feel like if anyone's going to finish it, it's probably going to come down that left just because of the sort of the personnel.
Yeah, completely. I even looked earlier. I know you kind of briefly saw it, looking at the possibility of Sacka coming in here at some point in the game, and then having a Sterling, so we're able to have Sacka as the runner, because almost like a shadow striker, as a big man, little man kind of combo. Because I just think we've got to work out a way. We've seen it in recent games. We're not incisive. We're not creating many chances. And I understand we are playing conservatively, but it really shows like a big hole in the game when Odegaard isn't there, because he's just our chief creator. It's something we really need to address now. I was having a chat with Alex the other day from the Different Knock, and one of the things we were also saying is Havertz is undroppable now, simply because of those long balls. I think if we had Mikel Merino as an option, we could see Havertz played in a slightly different way. But right now, our biggest kind of option from the press is playing over it. It's just, it's so crazy how we've adapted and changed. But at least we have got certain options now. And it's not a case of we've got Eddie Nketiah and Nelson, and no offense to those players, but they weren't particularly trusted by the manager, and they definitely weren't trusted by the fans. So at least these players we can kind of get behind. So it'll be interesting to see how we get on.
Yeah, one thing we've not spoken about at all is the possibility of this. If that's come up on your screen, I mean, came on in the derby, had a nice sort of 15 minutes.
He had a great little cameo.
It's probably too big of a game to start him, but probably just worth mentioning sort of how impressive he was. I'm somewhat disappointed he didn't get on in midweek as well.
I wanted him to start that game. I mean, probably selfish, but I just want some players to be given that kind of vote of confidence for the manager at a youth. We all remember when ESR came through, Martinelli and Sacka, and ESR was one of those players that were thrown in and really made a big difference. I just think that there's something with Ranieri where he has got that X factor. His ability, his first touch, ability to move and kind of drop the shoulder and just go forward he just plays so vertically, and we don't have many players in this kind of squad so far who have that profile. A lot of our players are kind of associative, and they kind of help with other players. They make each other a little bit better. And I just think Winari could be a player the last kind of 15 minutes, come on and just change it. He actually really does remind me, not like in all aspects, but in Foden, when Foden picks up between the lines and drives forward. I'd love to see him play. It'd be so nice.
The thing that spoke volumes for me as well is sort of how composed he was and how he took the game. I mean, he's come on with 5 minutes to play away at Tottenham, where we're holding a 1-0 lead, and it's so easy to, when the ball comes to you, just clip it down the line or fire it up or flick the header on. He was taking it down. He was sort of holding it up, jinking it round sort of a Basuma or whoever it was, and then so I don't think it might have been Pap Sarr at that point in the game, but yeah, he was taking the ball down, sort of taking a touch around someone, picking a pass. I think he played Havertz at one point. It was just offside. Like, it wasn't come on and see out the game, and if you get it, just hit, like, paint the corners. It was actually a nice, technical, confident cameo.
It was really interesting as well, because at the time, I thought this man, Jakub Kiwior, would be the kind of go-to for Arteta. We've seen so many times, and Rob Holding's job was literally come on for the last 10 minutes, see out a game. And I had a feeling Kiwior would come in, but for the manager to bring Winari in and him find out those pockets of space was really. I didn't expect it at all. I just thought 1-0, see out the game, play it nice, compact, and like you say, for Winari to pick up the ball and make those runs, make those choices, I think that shows as well the type of player he is, the confidence he has.
Yeah, I think it's still that decision. It shows a lot from Arteta. We're saying about sort of not bringing on the extra centre back, but I think it also speaks volumes about how impressive we are at the back. It was almost 5 minutes left of the game. I know that they're not going to score from a cross because I know that Saliba and Gabriel have got it covered. Like, we don't need another centre back. If they are going to hurt us, it's going to be a long shot or them having too much time around the edge of the box. So let's bring on a midfielder. So obviously speaks how brave Arteta is to go midfielder for midfielder, not the extra centre back, but also just how good our back four is. We don't need to add another one because we're more than confident with that. The danger is more in the middle of the pitch, which is sort of crazy to say now. Because I remember Holding coming on the pitch doing the whole 3-5-2 thing, or 5-5-3, whatever he did. Once Aston Villa, he used to come on sort of every game. There was a spell of 10 games in a row. He kept coming on and slotting in at centre back, but how times change.
Yeah, it really does show the difference in the squad. Having said that about the squad, I'll come off this part now. Do you feel like, I hate talking about the summer window, however, with the problems that we've got at the moment and seeing Odegaard missing and the lack of creativity, have we made a mistake not bringing in a more kind of creative player? Or do you think it's just a case of we just need to give Winari some time and then he can kind of become that debutant for it? Or
yeah, I think it was also I went into the window thinking we needed to add one, maybe midfielders. So then to add Moreno, but then lose Smith Rowe permanently and then Vieira on loan, I was like, we've lost depth when we all know that we needed more. So I mean, look, if he's going to trust Odegaard, trust Ranieri when Odegaard's out, then great. I think, in all honesty, we didn't anticipate Odegaard getting sort of an 8-week injuries.
Yeah.
I'd love to see what he's missed since he's been at Arsenal, but it's got to be just sort of a handful of games. So
I think it's 9 games in total prior to this injury. Yeah.
So I think it was more of a Odegaard will play every game. And then if he misses a big game, Moreno can play that role. So can Havertz. And then if he needs a rest in the cup games, then that's when Ranieri gets his start. So
yeah,
I think he's almost been thrust into something we didn't prepare for. But I mean, yeah, that's like you say, that's when you see how bold you are. Do you give that to the 17-year-old, or do you sort of mix and match? And Havertz played there against Atalanta. So
yeah, I think you made a really good point last week as well about if Odegaard was playing, it might give kind of Arteta that option of bringing Winari into the 8. simply because he's got, he'd have Rice, he'd have Odegaard kind of talking around him, but thrusting him into games like the North London Derby away, and then at the Etihad, and as we've spoken about, it's not an easy place to go and get a win for anyone.
That's what I felt was so impressive in the derby when he came on again, is that he didn't come on with sort of Rice and Odegaard and even Sacka, because Sacka came off. He came into midfield and it was like Partey's legs are dead and he's on a yellow card, I think. Jorginho can barely run at this point. He's also on a yellow card. So it's you are the legs.
Got cramped,
You're
didn't
the midfield now. Like you sprint around for sort of 5 minutes and do everything. You're the outlet, you're the creativity, you're the energy. So immense maturity for someone to come on without sort of a Rice, Odegaard, Sacka holding their hand through it.
And he's obviously picked up the culture of the club and the instructions of the manager, because watching Sterling, who's a player who's played at City, knows Arteta very well. We're well aware of the links and the kind of mentorship, I guess you'd say, from Arteta for Sterling. When Sterling came on, he did not look like a player that had been part of the squad for very long. No. And he didn't show much maturity, to me anyway, in certain phases of the game. I thought it was really evident that he was not pressing in the same manner. He wasn't tracking back in the same way. I'm sure these are things that over time will come back to him. Being at Chelsea can't be a nice experience. No. And you're used to having 40 players on a pitch at the training ground. But Nwaneri, he really is the first player I've seen for, probably since Jack Wilshere, that I've gone, I think he will become a fantastic, a top player, because even Sacka at the time, he didn't have that hype around him. I think everyone forgets he wasn't the player that came through the academy that everyone was talking about. Whereas Nwaneri he's that player that, the club really do have high hopes for. And hopefully we'll see more of him when we start playing and, teams like Bolton, and we kind of go into the other grounds and have some home games. Wouldn't it be nice to be at the Emirates soon? But we'll have to wait a little while longer. Yeah. Right. Last part then, Jack. Predictions. So, not only do I want a full-time prediction from you, give something a little bit different. Half-time prediction as well. So how you think it'll play out? And then, go for it, mate.
Okay, so I'm sort of going to make the same point that I made last week about the derby of if we score first, I'm fairly confident we can see it out. If we go 1-0 down, big trouble. So I'm going to go confident. I think we start compact. We play well. We sort of almost analyze the game, to sort of take the first 20, 30 minutes just to see how it plays out, stay compact, go into half-time at 0-0. Second half, long ball to Havertz, knock down for Martinelli, 1-0, see the game out.
Love that.
So pretty much the same as the Emirates game last year.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the possession stats from last year, I think we was just over 70% possession for City. Kept them to what, 1 XG, I think it was, pretty much bang on. I think Haaland wasn't Haaland like 0.3 XG or 0.03 or something. I mean,
I think they were saying over the course of the Community Shield, the home and the away game last season, so 3 games where he played, I think it was like 0.3 XG he accumulated across all 3 games. So marshaled pretty well, and that's where, like you say earlier, you'll have to look out for a Gundogan as not does he give up, but does he use his skills for something a little bit different to what he's been doing recently?
Yeah, I think anyone who's betting, man, okay, I mean, I'm not condoning betting before I say this, but I think this is a game where you can almost guarantee they're going to get a good 600 to 700 passes. We'll probably get about 200 to 300 passes. They will control about 3/4 of the possession, but I would like to think that expected goals, that XG, will be pretty similar for each team. It's going to be, it'll be under 2. It will be, I would presume, between 0.5 to 1. I just don't see an open, expansive game. I don't see City getting much joy from crosses and stuff because I'm just so confident on our defence. And now that we've got Rice back, I think it just makes such a big difference. It really does. But yeah, similar to you, prediction-wise, I think it will be more or less like a 0-0 at half-time. Real cagey affair. I can imagine hearing Gary Neville going on about how teams should be going forward, and that's what we used to do, and which is absolutely rubbish because they play 4-5-1 at the Emirates and at Highbury, so that's utter tosh. But he will be saying that, and then maybe towards the end of the game, maybe like I said earlier, a set piece, Sacka cut in and onto his left foot, or a Martinelli breakaway. But I'd take anything. Like a draw right now. We said it last week about going and winning, and I sit here now and I just think the 1 point is not the end of the world. And I think everyone's got to understand that.
Not at all. But I mean, look, they're there to be got at. I mean, we speak so highly of City, and rightly so. But look, they went 1-0 down at home to Brentford.
Mm-hmm.
Haaland dragged them to a narrow 2-1 win. They went 1-0 down to Ipswich, and Haaland, I believe, got a hat trick and sort of dragged them through. I think West Ham made it 1-1 and looked quite strong, had a few chances until Haaland then went and got another hat trick. So, I mean, the common denominator here is City can be got at. They're not invincible if you can stop Haaland, because like we said, they've conceded goals. They've gone 1-0 down numerous times already this season, but they've got a Norwegian bloke that's got sort of 3 hat tricks already this season. It's like, what is it, 3 hat tricks and 2 braces, or 2 hat tricks, 2 braces? Or something?
I think it is. It's just nuts. I have this argument with a couple of friends of mine quite often, but I just think in terms of individual talent defending, it's definitely, to me anyway, I think the quality of defending is far worse now. The ability to defend in structure, to me, is far better. And I think, when you talk about Haaland peeling off players and, bullying players and setting crosses, I just couldn't see him do that against a player like a Tony Adams or even like a Martin Keown. I think there's like a certain grittiness to older players. You used to look through the teams and you would see at least one defender who you think, oh, that's not a nice game. You don't want to go against them. And I think maybe defenders are a little bit too nice these days, but even so, his record's just ridiculous. It's just, I've never seen anything like it in the Premier League. I don't think we will for quite some time. It's just unbelievable. But it's so nice that he hates playing against us.
Yeah, and it's
nice Gabriel that,
James was saying the other day, and another shout out to James, that he has a proper, he doesn't necessarily like as much when he sort of gets ruffled up.
Mm-hmm.
But he enjoys it. Like, it was not the Etihad game last year. I remember sort of Gabriel and him going at it all game, and then at full time it was a big hug and a handshake of well, that was a good battle. It was a proper old school Premier League rivalry. Yeah. That was a Vidic versus whoever.
Yeah, definitely. It's it's the one fixture where I look at and I always think for us the main danger man is not our main concern, if that makes sense. Like, you usually pick out a team. Like, I looked at Atalanta and I thought, well, it's going to be Lookman. And, you look at Tottenham and you go, well, it's probably going to be Son. But this defence, it just oozes confidence, like, for all of us. And it must be so nice for them now having Raya behind them that they've also got that kind of insurance policy of, if something does go wrong, is that if there's a momentary lapse of concentration, that he's there. I mean, we talked about it earlier. That penalty save was just unbelievable. He's receiving a crosses, his ability to kick now, to Kai Havertz. We've got so many facets to this defence. For us to then talk about playing Timber into midfield, or taking out Ben White and putting in Timber on the right back, or having Calum Fury on the left, or we've got so many options now. It's a completely different team that we used to have. It's unbelievable. I do want to finish actually by saying, you obviously talked about Man City and how they've been playing this year and how they have been got at a few times. Our away record this year as well should give us some confidence, even though we're not playing, at our kind of what you call our 5th or 6th gear. But I think is it 12 games now 10 wins, 2 draws. I think 3 goals conceded in away games. Haven't even been trailing in any of these matches. So it does kind of give me confidence that we can go there and just shut up shop if we need to, but just to prevent them from doing what they want. It's so nice.
This is the first Arsenal team in ages I've seen sort of have that siege mentality. It used to be almost Arsenal go away and they hear the crowd and they just sort of go into a shell. But now we see it like North London Derby. It was a big thing that I saw before the game where they went. I don't know if you saw it. They went to our fans to do the huddle.
Yeah,
the pre-match huddle, and it was very much like, cool, this is our corner. Let's siege mentality. Everyone's against us. Let's proper get up for it and let's fight. Whereas before it was sort of you'd see them in the centre circle, just sort of looking around like, oh my god, like look at the fans and the tifos and the flares. Like, what do we do here? But now it's proper. It's almost us against the world of, which is nice.
It was really nice to see Ben. Did you see Ben White's reaction in the tunnel? With David Raya. I forgot who was
it Porro?
Yeah, I think it was. You see Ben White in the background. It just looking at the situation, and it was very much like, this is not what we do. You know, this isn't kind of friendly time. This is go time. And it's something that they've obviously, I always remember the Invincibles, and we had just such huge players, and we're getting back to that now. And even if physically, you can't win the battle, there's something about that, that warm up and being in the tunnel and being across from your opponents. And I've been there. I played as a striker, and I can always remember standing there and seeing, a 6'4" centre back and thinking, oh, I hope he's not quick as well. Because if he is, then this is going to be a long day. And those doubts straight away, that makes a difference in the game you play. And I think finally for City, they must be going into that tunnel and thinking, we never score against this lot anymore. They never give us an easy game. We know they can attack. We know they've got quick players and like Martinelli, and they've got a player in Sacka that can make something happen. It's interesting. And I even think for Pep to start coming out about finances and talk about the amount we've spent, I thought that's really interesting, because it used to be the little bro thing of didn't even talk about Arsenal and they're quite a good team and this and this and this, and now it's suddenly like well, they've spent as well, and they've got a bigger squad, and it's as obvious that maybe Arteta's starting to scratch away at the surface of him, but hopefully we'll crack him this season and get the win and get the title.
And then 1 year left on his contract, so hopefully this is it. We can the last battle at the Etihad, beat them, and then he announces his departure, and all is good with the world. They bring in like a Vincent Company or something, have a couple of years rebuilding, and wouldn't that be nice?
That would be lovely. I'm trying to think of old players that they have that they could bring back, but they haven't got much history, so it's hard. Do they have Sean Gota? Is it Sean Gota? Is that the player that he's
there? There'd be a dig in there somewhere.
Or David Dunn? Was David Dunn there? I think David Dunn was there at some point. Nicholas Anelka. They could bring back Nicholas Anelka. I'm sure he'd be a fantastic manager for them. Real good mentality, that guy. It was great having you on, mate. I really appreciate the time. I know, obviously, for those of you that don't know, there was a huge storm just where I live. Jack's saying that there's sunshine and rainbows where he lives, but I don't believe it.
Yeah. We're having a great day today, so I think you were making it up. I just think you were late.
So meanwhile, I had power cuts. We had lightning, thunder, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong for me. So it has been a bit delayed. So I do appreciate it, Jack. I know you've very, very busy man.
I appreciate the invite back after last time. I was sort of wondering whether you'd look at the episode back, like, not that guy again.
Now, I hopefully, and I'm hoping people who watch this kind of do agree. Like, hopefully, get you back on more often, because I know you're doing the short form content. Go and plug yourself, mate, about your TikTok.
Yeah, so TikTok's pretty much it at the moment. Just Jack Devonport 34, just plugging away at the short form, and then hopefully we'll move on to the long form in the future. But for now, just a TikTok.
Yeah, and I will get you on the long form content, mate. Get you on here, because you speak sense, you know the game. Like, You got a big future in this, like definitely, mate.
Appreciate
Definitely. Right. I hope you enjoyed the episode, everyone. Make sure you like and subscribe. Jack, make sure you like and subscribe for this video. I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.